Well, happy Secession Day, YouTube. Happy 4th of July, but it's actually our secession from Great Britain. That's what we're really celebrating. So I want to go through the untold history of the 4th of July, of this thing called the United States, how we declared our independence from Great Britain, because a lot of people assume we had the revolution and boom, there came the Constitution, and things were rosy until we had the Civil War in 1860, 1861. Actually, Civil War started in 1861, March of 1861. No, April. But there were some skirmishes just before then. So we're going to do this in one take. Welcome back to the channel, Culture Confederacy here. It's 4th of July, as you know, it's Thursday. And thank you for watching, subscribing, being a part of this thing called the Culture Confederacy, where there are no fancy graphics, epic soundtracks, or pretty boy camera angles. This mission to preserve great art, music, history, and culture, American history, American culture, not tearing down everything you disagree with. So a lot to get to in this video, so I'm just going to get to this as best I can here, throw as much as I can in the video. See if we can do it in maybe 10 minutes, possibly 12 minutes. I try to keep these videos between that time period. That's kind of a sweet spot for YouTube. If you can get it shorter, great, but there's just so much to cover today. So when did the United States really begin? We have to go back to the Lee Resolution from June 7th, 1776. So what happened was, and I'll talk about what the Lee Resolution is here. What happened was you had fighting break out in Massachusetts in the spring of 1775, and the King George declared that the colonists were, quote, in a state of open and avowed rebellion. Now, the Lee Resolution was introduced by Richard Henry Lee of Virginia, and this was introduced in the Second Continental Congress, calling for the American colonies to break away from Great Britain. So, after this fighting occurred in 1775, this resulted in the creation of the Continental Congress. And the second meeting occurred in Philadelphia in 1775. Lee's June 7th resolution in 1776 declared that the 13 colonies ought to be free and independent states. Notice it says states, it doesn't say state. That's a very important distinction to make. And I'll tie this all together here in a little bit, as you'll see once we go through the U.S. Constitution, even the CSA Constitution, Articles of Confederation. But this resolution contained three parts. So the three parts were a Declaration of Independence, a call to form alliances, and a plan for confederation. The United States was originally founded as a confederation of states. So we have the Articles of Confederation. In fact, that's why the CSA called themselves the Confederate States of America. You see, we are all Confederates. There's nothing to be ashamed of. You are a Confederate. Go out there into the street and say, I am a proud Confederate. I am an American. I am a Confederate. I believe in free and independent states, political equality. Now, at the time, all 13 colonies practiced slavery, because I know a lot of people are going to bring that up. Yeah, we're trying to compare the CSA to the original 13 colonies. Well, yes, because the original 13 colonies all practiced slavery. And I mentioned in my video, I believe yesterday, talking about this article at the New York Times. Are we a shining city on the hill? Are we a nation on the precipice? And as I've pointed out before, we're not really a nation. We are a federal republic, a confederation of states, always have been, as you're going to see here as we go through this. So on June 11th, the Congress appointed 3 concurrent committees, one to draft a Declaration of Independence, the second to create a plan to form foreign alliances, and the third to form the Confederation. But fearing haste by Lee, members of Congress pushed back the date to July 2nd. And July 2nd is actually our date of independence. The Declaration of Independence was adopted on the 4th, July 4th, but our real date of independence, when this Declaration of Independence was actually drafted, everything else, was July 2nd. So Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence, as we know, but it echoed Lee's resolution, which was adopted on July 2nd, as I said. And the plan for making treaties was approved in September of 1776. But the resolution of confederation of these states was delayed a year later, didn't happen until November of 1777. There we get the Articles of Confederation. Now, the principal writer of the Articles of Confederation was John Dickinson from Delaware, and he named the Confederation the United States of America, signed by all 13 delegates, colonial delegates. Pardon me if there's some background noise. It's the 4th of July, got neighbors outside or kids playing. I think somebody was trying to move something just now and they hit their wall or something. Hey, we're doing this in real time. It is what it is. So we're just going to forge ahead. So I'm going to read you now, sampling from the Articles of Confederation, some of these articles. The style, this is Article 1 of the Articles of Confederation, which was adopted in November of 1777. The style of this confederacy shall be the United States of America. Style is spelled S-T-I-L-E, by the way. Article 2, each state retains its sovereignty, freedom, and independence, and every power, jurisdiction, and right which is not by this confederation expressly delegated to the United States in Congress assembled. The said states hereby severally enter into a firm league of friendship with each other for their common defense, the security of their liberties, and their mutual and general welfare, binding themselves to assist each other against all force offered to or attacks made upon them, or any of them on account of religion, sovereignty, trade, or any other pretense whatever. And you go down the list here. Talks about if any person guilty of or charged with treason, felony, or other high misdemeanor in any state shall flee from justice and be found in any of the United States, he shall, upon demand of the governor or executive power of the state from which he fled, be delivered up and removed to the state having jurisdiction of his offense. So this somewhat gets into the fugitive slave law, which was actually in the U.S. Constitution. So you go down further in the list here, talks about how no two states can enter into any alliance or treaty without the consent of Congress. Each state shall maintain its own delegates in a meeting of the states, and while they act as members of the committee of the states in determining questions of the United States and Congress assembled, each state shall have one vote. All charges of war and all other expenses shall be incurred for the common defense or general welfare and allowed by the United States and Congress assembled. So you get the general idea here of the Articles of Confederation. So moving right along here, Maryland was the last state, by the way, to ratify the Articles of Confederation, and that actually took effect. It was implemented in 1777, but it went through this ratification process, and it didn't fully take effect until March 1st of 1781. So we had the Articles of Confederation for about 10 years. The Revolution really didn't end until about 1783. But James Madison and George Washington feared that the Confederation wouldn't last, and there were weaknesses with the Articles. It didn't give Congress enough power to regulate commerce, tax, or support any future war effort. They felt that the states had too much power. Plus, they had an issue with paper money flooding the colonies. This caused high inflation. But the Constitution, which was drafted in May of 1787, actually between May of 1787, that summer, to I think about September, that's when they had the Philadelphia Convention. closed all the windows, met in secrecy, and they hashed out this thing called the Constitution, which was lifted directly from the Articles of Confederation. So then in 1860, you have the CSA Constitution. But let's go to the U.S. Constitution. Here's what it says, the opening paragraph of, now I didn't read you the opening paragraph of the Articles of Confederation, but go and read it. But here's the opening paragraph of the U.S. Constitution. And then we have the Declaration of Independence, and I'm going to read the opening of the Declaration of Independence to you in a moment. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Notice they don't call this a nation. In the beginning here, they say, we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union. So it wasn't a nation, it was a union of what? Free and independent states. Now, the Declaration of Independence is actually a secession document. It says it right here in the opening paragraph, which everybody misses. Because everybody reads the second paragraph, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these are the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. But the opening paragraph clearly states that this is a secession from Great Britain. The unanimous declaration, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. The Declaration of Independence is a secession document. We seceded from Great Britain at a time when all 13 colonies had slavery. Now, if you go to the CSA Constitution, this is their preamble. By the way, the word slavery is not mentioned anywhere in the preamble. And this was adopted March 11th, 1861. South Carolina, by the way, seceded, I believe, in December of 1860. We, the people of the Confederate States, we, the people of the Confederate States, each state acting in its sovereign and independent character, well, that's what we saw in the Articles of Confederation. Each state is sovereign, it's independent. The style of this confederacy shall be the United States. I don't think it's any accident that the southern states that seceded called themselves, joined this thing, called the Confederate States of America, called themselves Confederates, or returned back to the Articles of Confederation. In order to form a more permanent federal government, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, invoking the favor and guidance of Almighty God, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the Confederate States of America. Now, what do you mean by a permanent federal government? That means that it is a government that is formed to carry out the functions of the central government. But the states retain their sovereignty, they retain their independence, and they have this agreement with the federal government that the federal government is their agent. It works on their behalf, but they have the right to secede. They have the right to go their own way if they feel that the government is not working on their behalf. In other words, the states are central to the CSA Constitution, getting back to the Articles of Confederation. And even Article 1, Section 10 of the U.S. Constitution, or that article lays out all these powers of Congress. Article 1, Section 8. Then you got Sections 9 and 10. Can't even talk. They lay out the powers of Congress, what the federal government can do, what they can't do, what the states can do, what they can't do. But anything not mentioned in Section 10 of Article 1 means that the states are compelled to do it, they must do it, etc., etc. The Congress can't stop them from doing it because it's not something that's prohibited by the Constitution. So finally, I want to give you a day-to-day account of the Constitutional Convention, just briefly here. June 1st, 1787, they talk about the National Executive, hotly debated this issue of having a president. June 2nd, the debate continued on the National Executive. They adjourned on June 3rd, talked about a single executive on June 4th, debate on the judiciary on June 5th, electing the Senate June 7th, electing the lower house June 6th, etc., etc. Veto powers June 8th. So I thought I'd share this with you, give you the untold story of our history as the United States here, the birth of this thing called the United States. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you know what to do. You can follow me at Instagram, #JasonComposes, because I write music in my spare time. Go to X, Culture Confederacy, at CultureConfed1 on X. This is the Culture Confederacy saying peace out. Stay safe, everybody. God bless this thing called the United States, and I'll catch you next time. You all have a great, happy 4th of July. Happy Secession Day!